Good morning and welcome to the Fantasy Fallout Podcast with me, your humble host, Michael Schussler. We are here on a beautiful Friday morning and it's snowy. It's chilly. Kids are going to school. Grass is frosty and all that good stuff. And what a game that we had last night. Chargers at the Raiders. But we'll get to that. We have an excellent show lined up for you today. We're going to talk about my favorite DFS plays for Week 15, fantasy semifinals. We got the Thursday night football recap, my Saturday night special, because there are two games this Saturday. We got the Bills traveling to Denver to face the Broncos, and the Panthers up in Green Bay to face the Packers. We'll go over my Saturday night special. And we'll do a little segment called What If I Told You? And then we'll take some live start or sit questions from the audience. That's always a lot of fun. So like I said, great show. I'll also have a special guest joining me, and I will get to that later. But first, like I said, it is the fantasy semifinals. All right, it's make or break. It's go time here. If you're still alive in your season-long leagues, big weekend, huge. Hopefully last night you got some help if you had anyone going. A couple decent performances last night from a lot of players. We will touch on that. But for those of you who have been eliminated or who don't play in season-long leagues at all, but you want to get involved in the action, you want to get some daily fantasy sports plays, you want to set a FanDuel or a DraftKings lineup, make some extra cash on the weekend. Speaking of that, I want to thank our sponsor, Sports Trading Systems, who allow you to trade stocks like you trade sports. So what we want to do today, or what I want to share with you, is my favorite DFS plays for Week 15. All right? I'm going to give you two guys who I think are slam dunks this week that are very little bit under the radar here. Not necessarily under the radar, but Kareem Hunt, all right, is going to be my first running back lock. He's $5,100 on DraftKings. That's the 27th most expensive running back. All right, he's coming off of his best fantasy performance of the year last week against my Baltimore Ravens, where he had 6 carries for 33 yards and a rushing touchdown, and then 6 grabs for 77 yards and a receiving touchdown. Great usage from him. Only 12 touches, but making the most of it. Over 100 total yards. Or 100 exactly, excuse me. He's got a much softer matchup against the New York Giants this week. And I think Nick Chubb's going to eat. I mean, he always does. But I'm also excited to see what Kareem Hunt's going to do. For only $5,100, coming off of a 29-point performance last week, no brainer. Lock him in your lineup. Love Kareem Hunt for $5,100. My other crucial play, favorite wide receiver this week, not necessarily under the radar, but it's Robert Woods, Bobby Trees of the Los Angeles Rams. All right, he's $6,800 on DraftKings. So that's the 12th most expensive wide receiver, but he's $2,000 cheaper than his teammate Cooper Kupp, who did have a touchdown last week and outproduced him. So, Cooper Kupp did outproduce Robert Woods last week, but Robert Woods has had 46 total targets in the last 4 games. Cooper Kupp, just 32. So Jared Goff is clearly looking toward Robert Woods, looking his direction a lot more often than even Cooper Kupp. They use Robert Woods to move the ball down the field in the center of the field. And they get the New York Jets this week. Soft matchup. The Jets surprisingly actually have a pretty decent run defense. So the way to beat the Jets is through the air. It's not on the ground. And I still expect Cam Akers to get his, especially if they give him 20 touches like they have been, like they should. But I think this is more of a Robert Woods / Cooper Kupp game, and I'm going with Woods in my DraftKings lineup because of the attention he gets, the crazy amount of targets, and he's cheaper than Cooper Kupp. It's that easy. That simple. He's going to be in all of my lineups this week. So those are my favorite DFS plays. Now you can catch a number of more excellent daily sports values for this week, for week 15, on whatsonsports.com. That's whatsonsports.com. You can catch my Schussler fantasy article right there. That'll be coming out later today in about an hour. Completely free. But that article has made a lot of people a lot of money. And it's done so for me. My back-to-back weeks finishing first place in my contest. So Robert Woods, Kareem Hunt. Those are the two I'm giving you right now on this podcast. If you want more, check out the article, whatsonsports.com. Okay, so I mentioned I was going to bring in a special guest, and I am. I'm going to do that to help me go over this Thursday Night Football recap. Now, this is a guest that I've had on the show once before. It's very dear to me. We had some requests from, I think, more of our female viewers that we bring this guy back. It helps brighten up the mood and give us some more eye candy to look at. This is my younger brother, Zach. Zach, welcome. Welcome to the show.
Mike. Thanks. Great to be back, and appreciate the eye candy comment. All you ladies watching out there, appreciate the love.
There you go. Now, I used to look like that, everyone. I used to look just like that. And Zach, this is what happens, unfortunately. Like this will happen.
Times undefeated, right?
Undefeated.
Yeah.
You can see it. You can see it. It hurts. But I look at you, I think back to my younger days. Wow, what a time. But hey, thanks for having me. Thanks for being here. Now, I wanted to bring you on to talk about the Thursday Night Football recap because a player that you have been on all year. We talked about him preseason. We talked about him last year. In fact, he was your keeper in our keeper league and maybe one of the best keeper values that we had all year. That's Mr. Darren Waller, who had 9 catches, 150 yards, and a score last night. More than half of that coming from Marcus Mariota. Talk to me about what you saw last night.
Darren Waller, just to mention, before the game, he had talked about maybe not playing. Because if you have followed Darren Waller's story, if you watch him on Hard Knocks, you know he was a former Baltimore Raven where he was teammates with Lorenzo Taliaferro, who unfortunately died of a heart attack Thursday morning. So that was weighing heavy on Darren Waller. And if you saw after his long touchdown pass, which was a dime by Marcus Mariota, I mean, where did that come from? He threw up the 3-4, which was Lorenzo's number, and then took a bow as kind of a tribute for him. But yeah, huge day. And basically it's Kelsey and Waller for fantasy at the tight end position. If you have anybody else, maybe they have a high ceiling and a decent floor, but if Kelsey and Waller are 1A and 1B at the tight end position, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that is clear. I mean, he had 30 points last night. Darren Waller did, and we were getting 30-point performance from your tight end spot. I mean, it's unstoppable. And I think Travis Kelce to me is the 1A.
Yeah.
But Travis Kelce has only had one performance this year with over 30 points. I think Waller's had 3. So, Travis Kelce is very consistent, but so is Waller. But Waller is also, he is that entire offense.
Yeah.
So you love to see that from Darren Waller. Now, unfortunately, if I remember correctly, you also started Derek Carr, right?
Yes, in our fantasy playoffs of our 2QB league, the Hyperflex League, I started Derek Carr over Matthew Stafford, who, I thought, sure, Matthew Stafford's questionable going into the game. Derek Carr has a soft matchup. Let's get a Herbert Carr shootout. Unfortunately, if you saw, Jason Witten was open for the touchdown. Derek Carr's indecisiveness caused him to have a serious, as they called it, groin injury in the first quarter. So yeah, I'm left with 2.1 points in my QB2 spot, now projected to lose by 14. And it hurts. It really hurts. I'm pissed off at Derek Carr.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, you could see when he was making that decision, like he like stepped or something
Yep.
with his left leg, and you could see
Yeah.
that. I mean, right there, you knew. So that's brutal for him. But hey, what a performance from Marcus Mariota. I mean, like you said, who saw that coming? Mariota,
Came.
yeah, 17 for 28, 226 passing yards with a passing touchdown. Then he had 9 rushes for 88 and another score with his legs, good for 26 fantasy points. I mean, dude, you should have started Marcus Mariota. Can you believe that?
Yeah, I should have known the great Oregon Duck showdown between Herbert and
Exactly.
Mariota was going to come out. But another player who kind of upset a lot of fantasy owners is Keenan Allen, who was labeled a true game time decision.
That's right.
During the Thursday night pregame show, Keenan Allen looked into the camera, presumably addressing his fantasy owners, and said, "Do not sit me," and wagged his finger at the camera. "Do not sit me," and went out and put up 2 points, one catch. And he
Yeah.
did get sat. They sat him, I think, as a precautionary measure in the second half. I mean, they're not going to the playoffs anyway. He's their best player. But if you're a fantasy owner and you were sitting Keenan Allen and his pregame warning not to sit him scared you because he is a big time player. I have him in the keeper league.
Of course.
Probably will keep him for a 4th round pick. He's been that good.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'm sure some people lost some leagues because of Keenan Allen's message yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I started him. But yeah, I
Oh,
wasn't going to sit him. Even whether he gave me that message or not. If excuse me, if Keenan Allen is active,
you got to play him.
you got to play him because I'm not having a 10 catch, 100-yard and a touchdown performance on my bench from my top wide receiver. So
Yeah.
I started Keenan Allen, but I also had Justin Herbert. I have a little bit of a stack there, and that was fine. But speaking of Justin Herbert, dude, rookie of the year. I mean, he was rookie of the year probably a couple weeks ago, but absolutely crushing it. And then that last minute, that overtime touchdown, him getting in with his legs, he ended up 22 for 32, 314 yards, 3 total touchdowns, good for 28 fantasy points. I mean, what more can you say? Like I said, rookie of the year on a losing team, which that's not great for his confidence, I guess. But this was a game where he actually came back and went down the field with a game-winning drive. You love to see him getting other wide receivers involved. Like you said, he was without Keenan Allen for most of the game. Mike Williams was also questionable.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't really have he does have Austin Eckler back and Hunter Henry, of course. But his top 2 receiving targets, he did not have them for most of the game. And he was still able to put up very respectable numbers. You love to see that from Justin Herbert. So
I think the Chargers could be a team to watch out for in the coming years. If you think about it, they did not have Joey Bosa in the second half.
right.
He was dealing with an injury. And
Yep.
Derwin James, who had a season-ending injury, Derwin James is
Oh,
electrifying on defense. So I think the Chargers, the AFC West in general, is going to be great to watch for the next few years.
yeah. No, that's a tough division, and we look forward to seeing them duke it out. I feel like it's going to be Kansas City for the next decade, but
Yeah. But I mean, we get to watch Herbert versus Mahomes. I'm all for that.
exactly. And then I guess you throw Derek Carr in there and Mariota, and yeah, it's fine.
Drew Lock.
Right. All right. Well, great win for the Chargers finally, and brutal loss for the Raiders, who have now lost 4 out of their last 5 games. They should have lost all 5 had Greg Williams not made that cover 0 call to lose the game for the Jets. But man, I don't know what has really happened to the Raiders, but John Gruden has got to be pretty upset. You could go back to driving that bus around Arrowhead Stadium after that win on the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah, it was too, like I said, and I knew that was a stupid move. Too early. You gave your team too much credit there, and now that was the biggest win of the year for them, as they beat the Chiefs once. Great job. That's all you get, Raiders. Yep. So
that's their Super Bowl. Congrats.
That was their Super Bowl. Yeah, exactly. But anyway, we move on. So the next topic here, everyone watching at home or listening, it is the Saturday night special. And what this is and I asked Zach to join me here with this. There are 2 games on Saturday night. There's the Bills at the Broncos and the Panthers at the Packers. And what I am going to do, and I'm going to ask Zach to do, is to guarantee one player from each team or from each game to score a touchdown. All right, now since this is my show, I'm going to go first. All right, so Bills, Broncos, I'm going to take a Josh Allen rushing touchdown plus 145 on FanDuel Sportsbook, mybookie.ag, both on there at plus 145. Josh Allen rushing touchdown. Book it. What do you got?
I have, on the other side of things, a Tim Patrick receiving touchdown. Well, anytime touchdown,
Nice.
but
It's anytime.
It will be receiving now. It's interesting because Tim Patrick is a guy that no one knew about at the beginning of the season, but he started to have some prominence. He's had 3 touchdowns the last 2 games.
Yep.
And in between the 3 touchdowns the last 2 games, there was the no QB game where all their QBs had COVID, so he didn't do anything in that game. Exactly. But the game before that, he had 5 receptions for 119 yards. So he's either had 100 yards or a touchdown in the past 3 games he's played with Drew Lock. And the Bills have a great defense. But if you look over their past 5 games, they allowed only 15 points to the Steelers, only 17 points to the Chargers. But if you look, they allowed 34 points to Seattle, 32 points to Arizona. So it seems like teams that have a lot of speed, they struggle against. And a team like Denver, who has Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler on the outside, gives them a lot of speed to worry about. I see Tim Patrick having a nice day over the middle.
Great call. I love it. Tim Patrick has really come into his own. He has become Drew Lock's number 1 receiver. I thought I was hoping it'd be Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah.
I mean, like Courtland Sutton, obviously that hurts them to lose him, but Jerry Jeudy should have been able to step up, reclaim that number 1 role, and it's slipping through his fingers. I mean, it is Tim Patrick. Even KJ Hamler has outproduced Jerry Jeudy 3 of the last 4 weeks. So really brutal stuff for Jerry Jeudy, but you love to see the connection. And you bring up that it's really Drew Lock. Okay, he makes that team. He allows that offense to really thrive. When he gets the ball to Tim Patrick, and he looks at him often in the red zone. That's why you mentioned he has 3 touchdowns in 2 games. You love to see that chemistry between those two.
Do you happen to have Patrick's odds? I did not get a chance to look it up.
Yes, I do. So Tim Patrick's odds to catch anytime touchdown or even a rushing one is plus 190. So that's very favorable. I love that bet. Plus 190, Tim Patrick touchdown. Everyone listening at home, if you're in a state that allows you to sports bet. All right, so those are our Saturday night specials for Bills Broncos. Now, for Panthers Packers, again, I'm going to go first. You already know where I'm going with this one because we talk about it every week. You want to take a guess?
Number 17.
Got it. Of course. Of course. And the thing is, he's minus 190 for an anytime touchdown. But that's not the bet that I'm looking at. The bet that I'm looking at is first touchdown because, my God, every week, and I say this, I've said this every time I'm on the show, I say it in all of my articles. It's, to me, the most lucrative bet in the NFL is a Davante Adams first touchdown. It's plus 490 right now. And it hits, I mean, like I said, I've made over $1,000 just this year by taking that bet and putting like a $20 on that bet. And it turns into, 200. And it happened again last week. Now, unfortunately, TJ Hawkinson caught a 1-yard touchdown on the very first drive of the game for the Lions, which I was like, damn, of course. But what happened when Aaron Rodgers and the Packers got the ball on their first drive? Right to Davante Adams. He had 5 targets on that first drive and, of course, finished it off with a touchdown because that is what they want to do. That is how their offense gets going. And Aaron Rodgers loves Davante Adams. He talks about him like he's his brother. He said something like, not only am I a better player, but I'm a better person because of Davante Adams. So you got to love that chemistry and love between those two. And you got to love how profitable it is. Give me Davante Adams, first touchdown, plus 490. What do you have for Panthers at Green Bay Packers?
I have Panthers running back Mike Davis, who, if everybody remembers, the early waiver wire claim of 2020 with CMC going down, and now as CMC is dealing with his shoulder injury, Mike Davis is kind of back to prominence. In the past 3 games, 55 touches, 3 touchdowns. I mean, that volume, you can't argue with that, especially against the porous Packers defense, which can be good in spots, but they allow 4.6 yards an attempt, 13 rushing touchdowns on the season. Plus, Mike Davis has that. He can get you through the air. He can get you on the ground, especially with DJ Moore, who is a game-time decision. Plus, they might have Jari Alexander locked up on Robbie Anderson. They might need to look to Mike Davis a little more than usual. I like Mike Davis to score a touchdown Saturday night.
I love it. The odds for Mike Davis, I don't know if you looked them up, but I did. It's plus 110.
Wow, it's pretty
good. For anytime touchdown. Yeah, I think that's I mean, like, it's more than likely that he does score because, like you said, the Packers do give up a generous amount of yards to running backs, but Mike Davis is also he's not game script dependent. So, they don't need to be winning to feed Mike Davis. When they're losing, they'll also check down to him. We know that's what the Panthers love to do. They slotted Mike Davis right into that dip and dot CMC Christian McCaffrey role, who I know we talked about Christian McCaffrey earlier. He's the best fantasy player ever. He's only played 3 games this year, but he has 6 touchdowns. But he does no good on the bench. So handcuffing, something that we talk about, in the preseason and drafts. If you handcuff your Christian McCaffrey with Mike Davis, you have been sitting pretty all year. So you got Mike Davis. I got Davante Adams. You have Tim Patrick. I have Josh Allen rushing touchdown. Those are our Saturday night specials from right here on the Fantasy Fallout podcast. Okay. Now the next segment, which I'm going to keep you on here. All right. Because the people love you. I mean, look at these comments. You should be on the show every week. There you go.
Oh, thank you, Johnny Football.
Johnny Football.
Appreciate that, man.
This guy knows what he's talking about. I mean, look at that name. Wow, he is hot. John Tedora said that. Host of the What's on Sports podcast. Well, maybe that's the guy who's asking for your number. Yeah, hit him up. All right, so this next segment is called "What If I Told You?" And what I'm going to do, Zach, is I'm going to take you back in time. Okay, I'm going to take you back to September. All right, early September, late August, week 1, before week 1, preseason. And I'm going to come to you, Zach, and I'm going to say, bro, what if I told you that Jalen Hurts could win you your fantasy championship this year?
I would not believe it. I would not, because if in our Kanishi Keeper League, I drafted Carson Wentz as my QB1. And I had thought that Carson Wentz was going to have a bounce back season, and maybe the Eagles were going to be the clear favorite once Dak went down. Mm-hmm. But obviously, if you've been watching the Eagles, Carson Wentz is a disaster. Maybe the worst decision-making I've ever watched. And Jalen Hurts, he was electrifying against the Saints. I mean, that was a fun game to watch. Him and Miles Sanders running that read option, running amok all over the Saints defense. Yeah, you're right. Jalen Hurts is a real dark horse to help win a fantasy league.
Yep, I love Jalen Hurts just because, like you said, what he does with his legs. I mean, that you cannot overstate that for fantasy purposes. He had over 100 yards in his starting debut last week. It's very Lamar Jackson-esque, where I think that they're in winning mode. They need to win. Maybe it doesn't look so pretty, but he is going to get it done. If he's got to do it with his legs, that's even better as a fantasy owner. I could see him going over 100 yards on the ground again, and at least, on maybe another rushing touchdown. So big fan of Jalen Hurts, especially, people scooping him off waivers, getting him for nothing. Okay. So if I had told you that, you'd be a little surprised. All right. We're back. We're in August, we're in the midst of the pandemic. And I said, Zach, what if I told you, well, we're in the midst of the pandemic. There's all the hype about the rookie running backs, right? Well, we see guys going off the board in the first round, a specific rookie. And what if during that time we're talking about who we're going to take? And I told you, Zach, listen, bro, What if I told you that Ronald Jones would have more fantasy points through week 14 than Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
I would be shocked. Clyde
Yeah.
was the eye candy of the entire draft. You saw people taking him as early as the third pick. I remember this summer, you were deciding if you should take him with your third overall pick, which if you did, he'd be a huge bust. Clyde has underperformed, especially with the addition of Le'Veon Bell. Bell has kind of come in and looked a little bit like his old self. He's still not the Le'Veon we saw in Pittsburgh,
No.
who was really electrifying, but the Chiefs, I can see them using a two-headed monster the rest of the season and really kind of dropping off Clyde's value.
Yeah, now Clyde is electric and he is a great player, but we're talking about for fantasy purposes. So, like you said, it's about the volume, it's about the touches, and while that is so important in such a electric offense like the Chiefs, if he's not getting the touches, and that's another thing, Patrick Mahomes will go wherever he wants to score, and he does. And by the way, that third overall pick, I actually took Ezekiel Elliott, so I should have just taken Clyde.
Yeah. Who was available? Was Dalvin available?
Damn right, Dalvin was available.
Yeah. He's probably been the most steady fantasy option besides Derrick Henry.
Absolutely. All right, one more. We're going back in time. What if I told you, Zach? We're watching Hard Knocks, okay? We're watching Hard Knocks together. And what if I told you that Justin Herbert, who was Tyrod Taylor's backup, barely getting any reps in Hard Knocks, what if I told you that he would tie Baker Mayfield's rookie touchdown record still with 2 weeks left to play after missing the week one? Not even playing.
This is the one that's actually the most shocking to me because Anthony Lynn, he seemed kind of set in stone about keeping Tyrod Taylor the starter for as long as possible. I believe Tyrod did get injured early in the season, but it was a minor injury where okay, Justin's going to start this game.
That's right.
And he came out and he threw for 270 yards and 3 touchdowns and looked like the guy we saw last night. I mean, to me, he's the best rookie quarterback. I know Burrow is good. Tua is getting better. But Herbert slings it, man. And he has all the confidence in the world out there, which I really like in a quarterback, especially when he's going to be dueling, like we said, with Patrick Mahomes and Derek Carr and Drew Lock. Having a quarterback who plays like that is awesome. And he's the biggest surprise of the season so far for me.
Absolutely. And he's been absolutely fantastic. Coaches like Bill Belichick are commenting on Justin Herbert, saying how impressive he thinks he is. And it's almost like a hint that Bill Belichick is wishing that he had a guy like Justin Herbert. And there's actually an article that we wrote on whatsonsports.com that almost hints at an idea of Bill Belichick maybe giving up that cold Boston weather and heading out to sunny Los Angeles to take over for a terrible coach in Anthony Lynn, who seems like a nice guy. Like Anthony Lynn honestly seems like a good guy. Seems like a cool dude. But he's not a good football coach. He's just not. And Bill Belichick and Justin Herbert together, that is scary. So
Bill Belichick, if he does stay in New England, though, just got to bring up this little conspiracy theory.
Okay.
The Jets play New England week 17.
Yeah.
The Jets will presumably be 0-15 at this point, meaning they're playing for the rights to Trevor Lawrence. Now, by way of tiebreaker, if the Jets were to go 1-15 and the Jaguars went 1-15, the Jaguars jump the Jets and take the number 1 pick. So, is Bill Belichick mastermind enough to lose to the Jets on purpose in week 17 to rid himself of having to deal with Trevor Lawrence 2 times every year in the same division? Will he go to this next level mastermind to keep Trevor Lawrence out of the AFC East?
Well, I would not put it past Bill Belichick to have thought about this. But at the end of the day, I think Belichick is too much of a winner. He has too much pride, and he has too much. There's the Patriot way, right? It was something that we talk about. It's an attitude. It's a mindset. Yeah. If he goes out there and purposely loses a game just to keep a player out of his division, that's just a total coward and fear-fueled move that I do not see Bill Belichick making. It's kind of a great point, and honestly, I don't hate the idea, but I don't think Bill Belichick has that cowardice within him to do something like that. That's all I'll say. So that concludes our What If I Told You segment. Now, the final segment that we have today is live starter sit questions that I want to take from the audience. Zach, if you want to stay on, you can certainly do that. But we have some comments here from some listeners that are asking some starter sit questions. So let's go over some of these. All right. First one, McLaurin or Ayuk? Brandon Ayuk. Okay, so I'm going to say now Terry McLaurin, he does have quite a favorable matchup here against Seattle. They give up the most points to wide receivers. However, his quarterback situation has been a little bit sketchy. Now, I think Alex Smith is on track to play this week. If Alex Smith plays, I think you got to start Terry McLaurin. He is too special not to. Brandon Ayuk has been on an absolute roll, and I don't fault anyone for coming up with this question. This is a difficult decision, but I got to say, if Alex Smith is healthy and out there, you got to go with Terry McLaurin. He is a game changer. What do you think?
I would actually start McLaurin, whether it's Dwayne Haskins or it's Alex Smith. Early in the season, McLaurin had 2 games over 10 receptions and over 100 yards with Dwayne Haskins as a starter. I don't think it really matters who's playing quarterback. For the Washington football team, you got to get number 17 the ball. Unfortunately, they didn't do that last week when I needed them in the fantasy playoffs, the first round. Yep. But I think 17 is the biggest threat on that team, especially with Antonio Gibson being injured. So I think you go McLaurin over Brandon Ayuk.
All right, so Steve, we are both saying Terry McLaurin. Here's another question. Let's see, from Wyatt. All right, so Raheem Mostert against Dallas or Eric Ebron against Cincinnati in a half-point PPR. So Mostert is questionable right now. I believe he's missed practice this week. But if he does log at least a limited practice today or tomorrow, you got to go with Raheem Mostert. Now, actually, I do like Eric Ebron. Eric Ebron has been seeing a lot of targets from Ben Roethlisberger. It is half-point PPR. But Raheem Mostert, we know how explosive he is. He, one touch, one carry is all he needs, and he can break off an 80-yard touchdown at the drop of a hat. It's also the Dallas Cowboys, who we just saw them give up almost 300 yards to the Ravens. They give up 200 yards every week, it seems, on the ground. Kyle Shanahan does love Jeff Wilson Jr. as the goal line back for whatever reason. I really can't understand that. But I feel like the 49ers get out ahead early against the Dallas Cowboys, and this is a Raheem Mostert game. Give me at least 15 carries for Raheem Mostert, and I will start him any week. Wyatt, I will say Raheem Mostert over Eric Ebron.
I actually think that this Dallas-San Francisco game will be really close. I like the way Andy Dalton's been playing as of late. I think this will be a last possession type of game, but with a decent amount of Raheem Mostert volume. I know Jeff Wilson Jr., like you said, is getting a lot of the goal line touches and the really good opportunities, but all Raheem Mostert really needs is one good goal line opportunity, and his volume throughout the rest of the game should suffice. As far as Ebron goes, I like him as far as tight end options go. As a flex to start a lower end, top tier tight end, I don't like it, especially because he had a few drops 2 weeks ago, a couple drops last week, and if you watch that Steelers game, the drops are no longer being tolerated by Mike Tomlin. He started playing Vance McDonald more after Ebron had those 2 drops, and Deontay Johnson was sat for the entire rest of the first half.
That's
so there
right.
is definitely, I think there's more risk going with Ebron against Cincy. So I go Mostert.
Both of us saying Mostert, Wyatt. All right, Wyatt, I see actually you do have another comment here. Let's check this out. All right, Corey Davis against Detroit or Russell Gage against Tampa Bay in a half-point PPR. This is tough. And the reason that this is tough is because there's no Julio Jones. He is out. So Russell Gage has been getting he has been getting targeted lately. He had 8 targets last week, 7 targets the week before. He has back-to-back weeks with at least 15 fantasy points. So I can see why Russell Gage would come into the conversation here, but Corey Davis has been too good to sit on your bench. Look, I know last week he had a bit of a dud. He just had 3 for 34 on 3 targets. But the week before, in week 13, he had 12 targets. He caught 11 of them for 182 yards and a touchdown. That kind of bust or boom or bust volume. In week 15, the fantasy semifinals, when you need big players to have big games, they get the Detroit Lions, who are just terrible. I think you got to go with Corey Davis here. Yes, it's going to be a Derrick Henry run all over him game, but I think Corey Davis at least has the opportunity to see 5 to 7 targets, and I imagine he gets into the end zone as well. You had an opinion for Wyatt, Zach?
Yeah, I hate Corey Davis's matchup this week. Not because I don't think Corey Davis won't do well or because the Detroit Lions are a good team. They're terrible, especially terrible against the run. And that's why I don't like it for Corey Davis. I really think Derrick Henry might get 35 attempts in this game. And, the Titans have no problem doing that. They're okay with letting him be the workhorse and go for 35 and 215 yards, especially when you have A.J. Brown to throw to off of that run. I think last week they really tried to force it to A.J. Brown and good things happened. I could see them doing that again this week. And I was high on Russell Gage last week, Wyatt. I actually told you to start Russell Gage last week. You didn't listen to me. And I like the way he plays. 83 for the Falcons, he kind of pops. When Matt Ryan gets him the ball in space, he usually does good things with it. So I like Russell Gage against Tampa over Corey Davis.
There you have it. So that's a tough one, Wyatt. Who are you going to go with? Well, you'll have to make that decision yourself. All right. Here's another one. This is from Lance, a fellow writer on What's on Sports. He says, Justin Jefferson or Stephon Diggs? Now, this is a great question. And, if you're the Vikings, obviously you have chosen Justin Jefferson for that cheaper contract, something that I brought up on the What's on Sports podcast on Wednesday, how their stat lines are actually quite similar, although Stephon Diggs does lead the league in receptions with 100. If you're trying to decide between starting both of them, I honestly think it's not really a question. I think it's Stephon Diggs every week, regardless of matchup, because he is the number one receiver with the better quarterback. Okay, he's the number one option in Buffalo, and Josh Allen is an absolute gunslinger, and he's been more accurate and has had better decision-making this year. I love Josh Allen. I love Stephon Diggs, especially this week over Justin Jefferson, because the Minnesota Vikings play the Chicago Bears, who are the third-ranked defense against wide receivers. I also don't have a lot of faith in Kirk Cousins, and I think that Khalil Mack and that defensive line is really going to get after Kirk Cousins, knock him down early. And if you hit Cousins early, he is a tough guy, but he tends to shrivel up a bit and just want to hand the ball to Dalvin Cook. Makes a lot of sense. Buffalo, however, gets the Denver Broncos. Like I said, it's that thin air in Denver. I could see Josh Allen slinging an 80-yard ball. Stephon Diggs is catching that. Give me Stephon Diggs over Justin Jefferson. Lance.
I'm actually a little bit flipped on this one, where I think Justin Jefferson is the one who's going to have to rely on a deep ball against Chicago. I do think Chicago blitzes, they're like the third highest blitz percentage team in the NFL. So they're going to come after Kirk. If Kirk was able to get good pass pro, roll out, I think you can see Justin Jefferson have one big play. But I think that's where you're going to have to rely on from a good performance from Justin Jefferson. Stephon Diggs, I think he'll have over 10 receptions. I mean, he can be a target hog, especially when Josh Allen decides to sling it. But I think Stephon Diggs is definitely a safer option. I actually think Cole Beasley and Stephon Diggs will both score more than Justin Jefferson.
I completely agree. Great call. All right, let's do one more. We got Johnny Football who's commenting, Big Ben or Tom Brady? This is pretty easy for me. It's Tom Brady. I mean, he gets the Atlanta Falcons, who are the worst in the league against opposing quarterbacks. They give up the most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. It's also Tom Brady in December, who has the highest quarterback rating in the month of December than any other quarterback in history. Give me Tom Brady over Big Ben. Big Ben also, like, yes, I get he's got the Bengals. That's a pretty soft matchup. It's must win for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are coming off 2 straight losses. But Big Ben is just doing so many little dunk and dip passes to his receivers who aren't catching the ball, like you mentioned. They're dropping left and right. They're also only going for 5 to 8 yards per attempt. So I don't like that for his numbers. Ben Roethlisberger, he is going to throw the ball 40 times, but he's going to go 40 out of 50 for 200 yards and maybe 2 scores. Whereas I could see Tom Brady going over 300 yards, 3+ touchdowns, getting all of his receivers involved. I think it's a big week for Tampa. They are going to eat against their division opponent in Atlanta, in the Dome. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, Gronk. Give me Tom Brady.
Johnny Football, I think this really depends on what the rest of your fantasy team looks like. If you're looking for a big play out of your quarterback, you need your quarterback to will you, or say the opposing team you're going against has Russell Wilson, or they started Justin Herbert last night or something like that, then you go with Tom Brady. His upside is way higher than Big Ben's, especially with all the crazy weapons on his team. Evans, Godwin, Gronk, Brown, Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette. Their offense is spectacular. But if you're going for a safe floor play, I think it's Big Ben. I could see Tom Brady not having to do a lot and the Bucs still stomp the Falcons. I think the Falcons have played terribly over the past 3 weeks, and historically, they don't play well when Julio Jones doesn't play. Big Ben, however, he can get you 250 yards and 2 touchdowns pretty much every week. That's his average. So if you're looking for volume and decent floor, I say Big Ben. If you're looking for upside, go Tom Brady.
Well, there you have it. Now, just to be fair, Zach, I have to bring up that Ben Roethlisberger has not topped 20 fantasy points in 4 straight weeks, and Tom Brady has had 31 and a 22-point game in those last 4 weeks. So I just think floor and ceiling, it's Tom Brady either way. But you bring up a good point. We do know that Ben Roethlisberger is going to throw the ball a lot, and he's probably going to get 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. So there you have it. Johnny Football, good luck to you. Good luck to everyone this week. Zach, thank you for joining me. We do have some more comments here, but we're just about out of time. So we'll have to get them next. All right, fine. I'll take one more. I will take one more because Wayne Gallman or Kareem Hunt. This is tough. Now, everyone thinks I'm going to say Wayne Gallman because I do love Wayne Gallman, which I do. But I don't think I can go away from Kareem Hunt after that performance that he did last week against the Ravens. I love his much softer matchup this week. Man, Kareem Hunt I don't see how you can sit Kareem Hunt, especially this week in the fantasy playoffs, because you for sure drafted Kareem Hunt. We know what he's capable of talent-wise. Wayne Gallman has been an excellent surprise, a beautiful surprise. I love Wayne Gallman. I talk about him every week. However, you have to start your studs. That's what I say, especially in the fantasy playoffs. Start your studs. Don't get too cute. If you have Kareem Hunt, especially with what he did last week, they're going to look to get him just as involved, especially in the passing game. I'm saying Kareem Hunt.
Although Kareem Hunt's game against the Ravens was an offensive battle, which may have helped him to get as much production as he has. Him and Nick Chubb, did they both have 2 touchdowns?
They sure did.
I think they did.
Yep.
I don't expect that to happen again, but I do expect Kareem Hunt to still go off. I mean, when he gets the ball, he's electrifying. Though
Exactly.
that running back room is insane, the best in the league in my opinion. And I like Wayne Gallman too. I think he's been a huge surprise, but Kareem Hunt's a safer play.
Well, there you have it. I totally agree, Zach. So we're on the same page there. So that one is easy for you, Steve. All right, fine. One more question. This is the last one. Last one. We were going over time. But I saw Matthew Noto's question here, and I think this is pretty easy. So that's why I'm going to answer it for him so he can sleep well. Eric Ebron or Irv Smith? In a full point PPR, he's leaning Irv Smith. I get it, Matthew. I get that you're leaning Irv Smith because he did have a pretty good game last week. And, that's the best performance that he has had all year, where he was 4 for 63 with a touchdown. But he only had 4 targets. And in fact, the most targets that Irv Smith has had all season is 5. Okay. Eric Ebron, though. Eric Ebron is the second most targeted pass catcher, route runner on that Pittsburgh Steelers team. We just talked about how we know Big Ben is going to throw the ball 40 times. He's doing quick dunk passes. Oftentimes that does go to his tight end. I mean, looking at Eric Ebron's targets, he only had 5 last week, but that's still more than Irv Smith had. He had 11 in week 13, 11 in week 12, and 7 in week 11. That kind of volume for a tight end is just too tasty. I know Irv Smith had a better performance last week, but it's fantasy playoffs, dude. You have got to start your studs. You have got to go with the volume. To me, it's Eric Ebron, no question.
Last week for the Minnesota Vikings was the first week of the season that the tight ends and running backs combined for more targets and receptions than the wide receivers.
Wow.
I expect Kirk Cousins to kind of go back to Jefferson and Thielen. Jefferson and Thielen both kind of had lackluster games, and Irv Smith was having a really good game. But I think Ebron just has safer ceiling and safer floor, as long as he doesn't drop. If you're worried about Ebron drops, then I can see Irv Smith, because that is a real thing to watch out for. Tomlin is pissed off. He's no nonsense. So an early Ebron drop would look really bad, but I think Ebron's still the safer play.
Me too. And the Minnesota Vikings play the Chicago Bears. They are a very tough pass defense. They have been more favorable to tight ends, so I can see where he's coming from there. But I'm also with you, Zach, on Eric Ebron. All right, that's going to do it for everyone. Zach, thanks for joining me. All right, I'll see you this weekend. Yes, sir. Excellent show. That was great. Thanks to everyone for watching and commenting. I'm sorry that I didn't get to all of your comments there, but I'll do better next time. We'll keep this a thing as we get into the fantasy playoffs, and this is crucial stuff. So good luck, everyone, this week. Make sure you get those lineups set. You can check out my rankings on whatsonsports.com for more questions if you have them. And like I said, if you've been eliminated or you just want to make some extra cash this weekend, whatsonsports.com will feature my week 15 daily fantasy article. I'll be providing my favorite plays and the best values for this weekend. Let's have some fun this weekend and make some money, guys. All right. Christmas is coming up. We need that extra cash to give those loved ones what they deserve. Thanks again to Sports Trading Systems for being our sponsor. I will see everyone next week. Have a great weekend. You're all far too kind.